A few weeks ago I went in search of the location of a dark episode from recent history, the unassuming home in North London that became the centre of the case of the Enfield Poltergeist. I actually grew up fairly close to the site in Brimsdown, but only became aware of it in recent years. As it is that time of year, I thought I'd post a video on my fairly amateurish investigation and the history of the case. So welcome to Green Street, where between 1977 and 1979 a perplexing tale of alleged demonic possession took place. The Enfield Poltergeist case is one of the most famous and controversial paranormal incidents in recent history. Taking place in this suburb of London, the case involved a series of unexplained events and purported paranormal activity that captured the public's imagination and caused a media sensation, or perhaps that should be the other way around. Either way, this is the story of a case that has had far-reaching consequences and can be seen as a textbook example of the possession genre. In the late 1970s, this small house in Green Street became the epicentre of paranormal activity that would soon gain international attention. Peggy Hodgson, a single mother, and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny and Billy, occupied the house at number 284. It was in this seemingly ordinary residence that strange occurrences began to take place, eventually leading to the involvement of paranormal investigators, national newspaper reporters, and those who would seek to debunk the claims, as well as the police. The Enfield Poltergeist case is characterised by a wide range of paranormal activities, with some of the most notable incidents including: number 1, furniture movements. Witnesses reported that furniture, including chairs and tables, appeared to move on their own. This phenomenon was often accompanied by loud knocking sounds and vibrations. Number 2, levitating objects. Objects within the house were allegedly observed levitating or flying across rooms. These included toys, books and household items. Number 3, strange voices. One of the most unsettling aspects of the case was the children's claim that they were possessed by a spirit or entity that spoke through them. These voices were often described as deep and malevolent. Number 4, physical contact. Janet, the 11-year-old daughter, claimed to have been physically attacked by an unseen force, leaving her with bruises and scratches. Number 5, witness testimonies. The case garnered attention from concerned neighbours, police officers and journalists who reported witnessing some of these phenomena firsthand. Turning to the original investigation, the paranormal activities in the Hodgson home prompted the involvement of various investigators. Notably, Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair, members of the Society for Psychical Research, SPR, conducted extensive investigations over an 18-month period. They documented and recorded numerous incidents and conducted interviews with the family. So-called paranormal activity included a police constable witnessing a chair wobbling and sliding without a clear cause. Subsequent claims involved disembodied voices, loud noises, thrown toys, overturned chairs, and even reports of children levitating. Over an 18-month period, more than 30 people, including neighbours, paranormal investigators and journalists, reported witnessing heavy furniture moving on its own, objects being thrown, and the sisters appearing to levitate. Additionally, knocking noises and a gruff voice were often heard and recorded. The story received extensive coverage in the Daily Mirror newspaper until reports ceased in 1979. The famed US demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren also became involved in the Enfield Poltergeist case in 1978 when they visited the Hodgson family home. The Warrens were renowned paranormal investigators with a long history of dealing with cases involving alleged hauntings and possessions. During their visit to the Enfield house, Ed and Lorraine Warren conducted investigations, interviews and observations of the alleged paranormal activities, which included levitating objects, mysterious noises and the claimed possession of 11-year-old Janet Hodgson. The Warrens spent several days at the location and concluded that the events were the result of a demonic entity. Their involvement gained significant attention and contributed to the overall notoriety of the Enfield Poltergeist case. The Warrens' findings and beliefs added a layer of controversy and mystique to the already puzzling series of events. While they were convinced of a supernatural explanation, the case remains a subject of debate among paranormal researchers and skeptics alike. Most likely because of the wider exposure of the case owing to the Warrens' involvement, the incident inspired the plot of the 2016 film The Conjuring 2. But by far my favourite popular culture spin-off was the controversial BBC mockumentary Ghost Watch. This programme caused a sensation at the time and haunted me for years after watching it as a youngster after it aired on Halloween night in 1992. The found footage style production of Ghost Watch and the very straight presentation of the fictitious events by UK household names is also likely to have inspired later productions like the Blair Witch Project. Returning to Enfield, out of curiosity I conducted an impromptu paranormal investigation of my own. This included a rather inconclusive Ouija board session and a vaguely more interesting experiment with dowsing rods, which did cross when I walked towards the house. However, despite this, I remain a very interested skeptic. And there are other, more forceful doubters too. While many believed the Enfield Poltergeist was genuine, critics pointed to several factors that raised doubts about the authenticity of the events. Some suggested that the children may have fabricated or exaggerated the incidents for attention or to escape from their difficult living situation. Others argued that the photographic and video evidence produced during the investigations was inconclusive and could easily be staged. It was also suggested that the Hodgson family might have experienced psychological stress due to their living conditions, which could have influenced their perceptions of paranormal events. My own theory, having recently rewatched The Exorcist, is that some of these claims are reminiscent of plot points in the film, which was released just a few years before the Enfield Poltergeist incidents began. It was a cultural phenomenon, and I think it may have influenced some of the recollections and stories. But the Enfield Poltergeist case remains a subject of debate and intrigue to this day. While believers in the paranormal point to the extensive documentation and the credible witnesses involved, skeptics argue that the evidence lacks definitive proof of supernatural phenomena. Ultimately, the case raises important questions about the nature of belief in the paranormal, the influence of psychological factors, and the limits of our understanding of the unexplained. So whether you're a credulous Mark like Mulder or a skeptic like Scully, in this instance it remains a compelling case, and the truth of what transpired in that small house in Enfield may never be fully resolved. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and most importantly subscribe. And you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description, or via YouTube Super Thanks. Thanks for watching, bye for now.